For decades, we've all been told the same story. Grow the economy and everything else will just fall into place. But what if that's not the whole picture? Today, we're going to dig into a totally different way of thinking about what progress really is, something that goes way beyond just dollars and cents.
Man, this quote just hits home, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that weird disconnect so many of us feel. You see the headlines, you hear the news about a booming GDP, but then you look out your own window at your own community, and it just doesn't add up. The numbers might say things are getting better, but our lives tell a very different story. It's that gap we're going to explore.
And this leads to a really big, fundamental question. If the main yardstick we use for success, economic growth, isn't actually reflecting how well we're doing, then maybe, just maybe, we've been measuring the wrong thing all along. What if that single-minded focus is actually making us miss what truly matters?
Okay, so if growing the economy isn't the ultimate end goal, what is? Let's dive into a much more fundamental idea of what a truly healthy society should be aiming for.
The alternative idea is this: collective capacity. So instead of just tracking money, imagine we measured our real, shared ability to tackle problems, to adapt to whatever life throws at us, and to build a better future together. This is the true bedrock of a society that works. Things like shared knowledge, trust in each other, and our ability to bounce back.
So how do we actually build this collective capacity? Well, the source material for this explainer uses a pretty brilliant metaphor to explain it, what it calls the ratchet of society.
You know what a ratchet is, right? It's that tool that can only move forward. It clicks, it locks into place, and it can't slide backward. Well, that's a perfect way to think about how real, lasting progress works. Every major advancement becomes this new, solid floor for the next generation to stand on and build from.
Just think about how this has played out across all of human history. First, we get language, which lets us share ideas. Then comes writing, which makes those ideas permanent. We use that knowledge to create law, so we can coordinate on a massive scale. That leads to cities, where we can specialize, and that specialization gives us science, which leads to modern medicine and longer, healthier lives for all of us. You see? Each step is another click of that ratchet, a permanent gain in our collective capacity.
And here's the absolute kicker. This engine of progress, this ratchet, it isn't fundamentally about economics. It's about sharing knowledge. It's about building understanding. Now, the economy can be a really helpful tool to speed this up, for sure, but it isn't the engine itself.
So if that's the engine of progress, what happens when our obsession with the economy actually starts to break it? To get our heads around that, let's borrow another analogy, this time from ecology.
Think about a healthy forest. Nutrients are always cycling around, from the soil, into the trees, into the animals, and then back into the soil again. That shared pool of nutrients is the commons, and the whole system, the whole forest, depends on it. Now, if you just come in and extract from that commons without ever putting anything back, eventually the whole system just collapses. Our society, it turns out, works in a very similar way. And this visual just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have a healthy, cyclical society. Any surplus we create, whether it's wealth, knowledge, new tech, it gets reinvested back into the system, strengthening that shared foundation for everyone. The ratchet clicks forward. But then you have the extraction model. Here, that surplus is just pulled out of the cycle and locked away. The commons, the very thing that created the surplus in the first place, gets depleted. The ratchet stalls. Or even worse, it starts to slip backward.
And believe me, this isn't just some abstract theory. We see examples of extraction all around us. A life-saving medicine that's priced so high that the people who need it can't get it, that's extraction. Massive amounts of wealth being pulled out of the active economy and just parked in offshore accounts instead of being reinvested. That's extraction too. It's taking value out of the system without putting it back in. And this, right here, this gets to the absolute core of the problem. If you're only looking through the narrow lens of GDP, extraction often looks like a huge success. A company reports record profits, great. But when you switch to the lens of collective capacity, you see the truth. It's a net loss for everybody because it weakens the very foundation we all stand on.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, if we start using this new lens, it completely changes the kinds of questions we should be asking in our politics, in our businesses, and in our own communities.
Just look at how the questions completely flip. The old question was always, will this grow GDP? The new question is, will this grow our shared capabilities? We stop asking just about job numbers and we start asking, can more people get access to good health care? The whole focus shifts from these abstract economic numbers to real, concrete improvements in people's lives.
It basically means we need a whole new dashboard for progress. Forget just watching GDP. We should be measuring things like, is knowledge spreading faster? Are our communities getting better at working together? Is our environment becoming more resilient? Do people actually feel a sense of genuine security in their lives? These are the indicators that tell us if that ratchet is actually clicking forward.
So all of this really forces us to step back and reevaluate the role of the economy itself. Is it supposed to be our master, or is it supposed to be our servant?
And the idea is actually this simple. The economy is a tool, a really powerful one for sure, but still just a tool. The real goal, the point of it all, is to build our collective capacity so that everyone, not just a few, can live a good life.
See, for way too long, we've confused the tool with the purpose. We've been tweaking and optimizing for the economy's performance, not for the human well-being it's supposed to create. Look, economic growth that actually builds our collective capacity, that's amazing. That's a great thing. But growth that undermines it, that's a failure, and it doesn't matter how high the GDP numbers go.
So as you can see, this shift in thinking from economy to capacity isn't just some small tweak. It's a fundamental change in how we see the world. It forces us to rethink, well, everything. How we tax, how we build our companies, how we invest in our neighborhoods, which leaves us with one last powerful question to think about. If building our collective capacity is the true goal, what else needs to change?